This is Art Television.
Coming up, State of Business, sponsored by
IWS Aviation.
Hello there, you're watching on television. This is State of Business. I am Pumutha Karugampala. We know top stories. World Bank expects Sri Lankan output to contract this year. Government engages international community to strengthen ties and investment. Welcome back, you with State of Business. Now let's have a detailed look at today's stories. Now the World Bank, through its report on global economic prospects for 2023, maintains that the South Asian economies continue to be adversely affected by the Russians' invasion of Ukraine. The region is also impacted by the tightening of global financial conditions as central banks in the region and elsewhere act to fight high inflation. The repercussions of these developments led to contractions in trade, hospitality and manufacturing in the South Asian region as households' real incomes came under pressure. In Sri Lanka, output is estimated to have fallen by 9.2% in 2022 as the government ran out of the foreign exchange needed to cover food and fuel imports and to service external debt. The rupee plummeted and imports contracted sharply. While the authorities are now implementing a stabilization program, the country faces continuing shortages of food, energy and medical supplies. The crisis and its repercussions have increased poverty and reversed much of the country's income gains over the past decade. Tourist arrivals, an important source of foreign exchange, continue to be depressed, with international arrivals last October about one-third of their 2019 level. In Sri Lanka, output is expected to contract again in 2023 by 4.2%. The forecast for growth in 2023 has been revised down owing to ongoing foreign currency shortages, the effects of higher inflation and policy measures designed to restore macroeconomic stability. However, more than one-third of the population are food insecure, up from less than one-tenth in 2019. Although global food price inflation appears to have subsided, risks of increased deprivation and inadequate nutrition remain elevated. High fertilizer and petroleum prices are likely to affect upcoming planting seasons, increasing the persistence of high food prices and threatening households' ability to cope by depleting savings. Meanwhile, the Cabinet of Ministers on Monday approved a Memorandum of Understanding between the Korean Tourism Organisation and the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority. Cabinet spokesperson Bandulu Gunawardena on Tuesday explained that this MOU will help implement a community-based tourism development project in Kucheveli.
සංචාරක කටයුතු පිළිබඳ අමාත්‍යතුමා ඉදිරිපත් කළ පත්‍රිකාවක් ශ්‍රී ලංකා සංචාරක සංවර්ධන අධිකාරිය සතු කුච්චිවේලි සංචාරක ප්‍රදේශයේ කේන්ද්‍ර කරගනිමින් කොරියානු සංචාරක සංවිධානයේ මූල්‍ය ආධාර යටතේ ලංකා සංචාරක සංවර්ධන අධිකාරිය විසින් ප්‍රජාපාදක සංවර්ධන ව්‍යාපෘතියක් ක්‍රියාත්මක කිරීමට යෝජනා කර තිබෙනවා. කොරියානු සංචාරක සංවිධානයේ නියෝජිත කණ්ඩායමක් අදාළ ව්‍යාපෘති යෝජනාව පිළිබඳ ශක්්‍යතා අධ්‍යයනය සිදු කර යෝජිත සමස්ත ව්‍යාපෘතිය ක්‍රියාත්මක කිරීම සඳහා දකුණු කොරියානු වොන් බිලියන 2.172ක මූල්‍ය ආධාරයක් ලබා දීමටත් එහි ප්‍රථමාදියර වශයෙන් අදාළ සංචාරක සංවර්ධන ව්‍යාපෘතියේ සමස්ත සැලැස්ම සකස් කිරීම, පුහුණු වැඩසටහන් ක්‍රියාත්මක කිරීම, නියම පුහුණු වැඩසටහන් ක්‍රියාත්මක කිරීම සඳහා දකුණු කොරියාවෙන් වොන් මිලියන 400ක ප්‍රදානයක් ලබා දීමටත් එකඟතාවය පළ කර තිබෙනවා. දැන් මේ මුදල විශාල ආයෝජනයක් වොන් බිලියන 2.1ක ආයෝජනයක් කරලා කුච්චුවේලි සංචාරක සංවර්ධන ප්‍රදේශයක් නිර්මාණය කිරීම සඳහා ව්‍යාපෘති වාර්තාවක් සකස් කරන්න ප්‍රදානයක් ණයක් නොවන වොන් මිලියන 400ක් ප්‍රදානයක් ලෙස ලබා දෙන බව එතුමා සඳහන් කළා. ඒ අනුව කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලයේ අනුමැතිය ලබා දුන්නා. ඒ කොරියානු වොන් බිලියන් 400ක ප්‍රදානයක් ලබා ගනිමින් මේ ප්‍රජාපාදක සංචාරක සංවර්ධන ව්‍යාපෘතිය සාර්ථක කරගන්න කටයුතු කරන්නට කියලා.
Now, President Ranil Wickremesinghe yesterday met with Japanese State Minister of the Cabinet Office, Satoshi Fujimaru. The State Minister was accompanied by a Japanese business delegation. Discussions focused on the investment opportunities available in Sri Lanka, including in hospitality and tourism, mining and training of Sri Lanka's workforce. The President explained that under the government's economic plans, emphasis was being placed on training Sri Lanka's youth to ensure the country was geared to adapt to new and emerging industries. Also calling on the President that day was Senior Director for the U.S. National Security Council for South Asia, Rear Admiral Aileen Lobersha. During the meeting, the Rear Admiral expressed her government's appreciation for the recovery efforts undertaken by President Wickremesinghe in regard to the economic crisis. President Wickremesinghe outlined the government's economic plans, including the economic reforms being undertaken. The President also discussed maritime matters, including the increased efforts by the government to crack down on the narcotics trade. See you soon with more stories after this short commercial break. Welcome back here with State of Business. Now, Minister of Foreign Affairs Ali Sabri recently chaired the first diplomatic briefing for a Colombo-based diplomatic corps for the new year at the ministry. Minister Sabri at the outset highlighted that Sri Lanka is looking towards 2023 as a year of socio-economic stabilization, reconciliation and recovery. The minister outlined several areas of progress made in the country towards recovery and initiatives taken amidst challenges, which has led to a greater degree of stability for the people. With regard to reconciliation, Minister Sabri provided an update regarding the key measures undertaken by the government in the recent months. This included the all-party conference convened by the President in December 2022, functioning of the Cabinet Subcommittee on Reconciliation, and the establishment of a special unit on solving issues of people in the Northern Province under the Presidential Secretariat. He also indicated that the government has made serious efforts towards setting up a truth and reconciliation mechanism and the operationalization of the Office of Overseas Sri Lankan Affairs. The Minister of Justice explained the progress that has been initiated in drafting comprehensive legislation on counter-terrorism to replace the PTA update on anti-corruption law. The minister also covered progress on matters related to reconciliation processes coming under the purview of the Minister of Justice, including the progress made by the Office on Missing Persons, Office for Reparations, and Office for National Unity and Reconciliation. Addressing those gathered for the first diplomatic briefing for Colombo-based diplomatic corps for the new year was the Minister of Tourism. The minister highlighted that in order to encourage tourist arrivals in 2023, measures have been put in place to provide all required facilities for tourists. This includes steps taken to ensure supply of fuel for foreign visitors, such as fuel passes and exempting identified tourism zones from park huts. Minister also encouraged countries to reflect the current situation of the country, especially with regard to revising adverse travel advisories. The Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka made a presentation on the current economic situation and the envisaged way forward. The Director General of the Department of National Planning provided a briefing on the social protection measures that have been adopted for vulnerable groups. Foreign Secretary Wijewardena stated that Sri Lanka has submitted its national report under the fourth cycle of the Universal Periodic Review, which is a voluntary review process of the Human Rights Council. Secretary Wijewardena highlighted that in the process of preparing the national report, the government undertook broad consultations with local stakeholders, including civil society organizations. Sri Lanka looks forward to a constructive engagement with the United Nations as well as the international community in a spirit of cooperation and constructive dialogue. During the discussion that followed the presentations, the members of the Diplomatic Corps expressed appreciation for the fruitful and useful briefing provided on the current situation and the steps taken towards recovery and stabilization. Now, a value chain analysis by the Institute of Policy Studies of Sri Lanka on transforming tobacco farming finds strong evidence that it is not profitable for SME farmers. It shows that tobacco farmers can earn better profits from cultivating other crops like chili, brinjal, carrot, bitter gourd, cabbage and big onion. The IPS study examines the potential for transforming tobacco farming through possible alternative cropping strategies in Sri Lanka. The publication is authored by Nimesha Dissanayake, Dilani Hirumuthugade and Dr. Manoj Tibbotuava. The study presents the following recommendations. The National Agricultural Research System should be deployed to determine the stability of identified alternatives considering production, marketing, commercialization and policy potential. New technologies that have the potential to enhance agricultural productivity and income and to build the resilience of farmers should be developed and applied through timely and reliable extension services. Investments should align with inclusive business models and value chains such as public-private producer partnerships to facilitate commercialization. Further, the farm organizations could be strengthened to involve in agriculture marketing and build linkages with modern value chains. Strengthening the policy framework to create an enabling environment for these new livelihoods and business strategies through targeted policy and resilience building action is vital. The authors note that these supply-side measures could be complemented with demand-side measures to disincentivize manufacturers such as laws, penalties and taxes to prevent farmers from joining the industry. They further stress that continuing price increases through tobacco taxation should be adopted with greater awareness creation. Stay tuned for the stock updates.
IWS Aviation.
Welcome back, you with State of Business. Now the stock update. Trading at Colombo Stock Exchange ended on negative notes today. The All-Share Price Index dropped 46.82 points to close at 8,334.05 and the S&P SL 20 dropped 11.03 points to close at 2,549.92. The turnover was 1.9 billion rupees and over 196 million shares were traded. Coming up next are Forex rates. And that's a wrap from today's edition of State of Business. For this and more, subscribe to our channel on YouTube and follow us on Facebook. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
State of Business was sponsored by